Hey everyone, how's it going? EA Bland here, and I just want to take a moment to thank you for your interest in Life Preservers, my very first poetry collection. This collection was originally written back in 2020, and it's taken 5 years, sure, along with a few life detours, to edit, curate, and refine it to the 76 poems you'll find in these pages. It's been quite the journey, and I'm beyond excited to finally share it with you. It's now here, officially in the wild. And for full transparency, this is a digital release, so it's a PDF download. And I want to quickly show you what it looks like. This is it on the iPad. All right. You've got the cover, there goes some of your artwork. Um, that's the introduction there. And it looks really good. Let's find a poem. Here's the first one. Got your artwork, followed by your poem. And it looks fantastic. It's sleek, it's clean, and it reads beautifully across different screens. So whether you're on an iPad, mobile, or even a Kindle, I made sure it displays as intended. And honestly, seeing it in black and white on the Kindle, it gives the words a new kind of depth because it strips away the distractions, the color, and it makes the poetry itself the focus. Now, as a little treat, coming in just a second, I want to read you the introduction. But before we get into that, I was talking to someone the other day and they said, I love the idea of poetry, but it's just not my thing. And you know what? I completely understand. For years, I felt the same way. I loved the sound of poetry, the idea of poetry, but I didn't always know how to approach it. That's why I was drawn to found poetry, blackout poetry, and erasure poetry, which are kind of all under the same umbrella. Because you don't need to be an English major. You don't need to have read all the quintessential poets of the last few centuries. You just need yourself, your awareness, and your feelings in the moment. Found poetry isn't about starting from scratch, it's about discovering your voice through what already exists. And for me, it became more than just a writing practice. It became a way to process my thoughts, my emotions, and experiences. In fact, I'd argue that found poetry is even more powerful when you pair it with journaling. Let's say you don't know what to write in your journal, right? But you do know what you're feeling. Grab a newspaper, a magazine, or even a random page from a book and start picking out words and phrases that resonate with you. Write your poem. Later, when you sit down to journal, that poem becomes your prompt. It gives you clarity. It helps you process what's on your mind. It's transformative. So, in the same way, writing Life Preservers wasn't about creating something from nothing. It was about uncovering meaning in what already existed. And that, I believe, is the real power of poetry. It meets you where you are. No prerequisites required. So, let's dive into the introduction, right? So, excuse me. In the stillness of 2020, amidst a world caught in a spiral of uncertainty, I found myself searching for something steady, something to ground me when everything else felt untethered. It wasn't a grand revelation or a sudden spark of inspiration. Instead, it was a simple act, picking up a pen and scanning the pages of old books, newspapers, and magazines. What emerged from those moments was not just poetry, but a practice, a way of seeing the world differently. The practice became my life preserver. This collection, Life Preservers, is the result of a year spent navigating isolation. reflection, and eventually a deeper understanding of my place in the world. Found poetry, a form of writing that rearranges existing texts into new meaning, became my way of making sense of chaos. It offered me clarity, perspective, and a sense of connection at a time when the world felt distant and fractured. The spark of found poetry. I've always been drawn to the power of words. Growing up in a Christian household, I was taught that words carry weight, that scripture, hymns, and prayers hold the potential to change lives. There's a discipline in faith, a reverence for language that shaped my early understanding of the world. Yet, as I grew older, my path led me beyond traditional teachings, and I found myself exploring other philosophies, Taoism and Stoicism in particular. Taoism taught me about flow, the art of embracing contradiction, of finding harmony in the natural order of things. It's a philosophy that celebrates the beauty of simplicity and the wisdom of observation. In Taoism, there's an understanding that meaning is not always about creating, but about noticing, about uncovering what is already there. This idea resonated deeply with me as I ventured into found poetry. Stoicism, on the other hand, offered me resilience. It grounded me in the art of quiet endurance, the practice of facing uncertainty with a calm, reflective mind. In many ways, found poetry feels like a Stoic exercise. It's about control, not of the world around us, but of our response to it. It's about finding purpose in the fragments, about shaping chaos into order, from fragments to wholeness. The process of writing these poems was not one of creation, but of discovery. I would sit with a book, a pen in hand, and a highlighter in the other, and I'd scan the text once, twice, sometimes three or four times, until certain words or phrases surfaced, demanding attention. Some poems emerged quickly, like messages from the ether. Others required days of reflection, of revisiting the same page until the right words found me. There's a meditative quality to this practice. It's about learning to see poetry not as something separate from life, but as an integral part of it. The words were never really mine, they were gifts, waiting to be arranged, rearranged, to be given new life. In this way, found poetry is both deeply personal and profoundly universal. It's a reminder that even in the most mundane texts, there's potential for beauty and meaning. The intersection of faith, philosophy, and art. Life Preservers is the culmination of these influences: my Christian upbringing, my exploration of Taoism, and my study of Stoicism. Each philosophy offers a unique lens through which to view the world, and together they form a foundation for my creative process. Faith taught me to seek wisdom in words, find comfort in sacred text and rituals of language. Taoism encouraged me to let go of control, to embrace the flow of life and the paradoxes it presents. Stoicism reminded me of the importance of resilience, of finding strength in adversity and clarity in chaos. These philosophies are not merely intellectual pursuits, they are ways of living, ways of seeing. They inform my poetry not just in content, but in process. Found poetry itself is a Taoist act, a surrender to the natural order of words, a trust in the flow of language. It's also a Stoic practice, a disciplined approach to observation, a reflection on the impermanence of text and the permanence of meaning. Why life preservers? The title of this collection is both literal and metaphorical. In a time of overwhelming uncertainty, poetry became my life preserver. It offered me structure, clarity, and a way to process my thoughts and emotions. But life preservers is not just about my survival, it's about offering something to others. Found poetry is an invitation. It reminds us that poetry is not an exclusive art form, reserved for those with formal training or a particular way with words. It's something anyone can create if they're willing to look closely, to listen to the whispers of texts that surround us every day. By reading these poems, my hope is that you will begin to see the poetry around you, the rhythms of everyday language, the fragments of meaning waiting to be reassembled. If there is one message I want to leave with you, it is this: you do not need to start from nothing. Meaning already exists, poetry already exists. Sometimes it is just waiting to be found. Pen Poetry, Pen, Paper, and Heart, Volume Zero, Life Preservers, is my offering to you. A collection of words that preserved me and perhaps, in some small way, might preserve you too. Stay poetic. Well, now let's talk structure. Here's a note on the structure of this collection. Poetry and life is rarely a straight line. Life Preservers isn't arranged in a strict linear order either. Instead, it flows like a dream, fluid, shifting, intuitive. The poems are placed to mirror how memories surface in quiet moments, how emotions rise and fall unexpectedly. This is a book you don't need to read in one sitting. You can wander through it, let certain poems sit with you, return to others later. There's no right or wrong way to experience it, only the way that feels right to you. So, if you're curious about found poetry, or if you're looking for something introspective to sit with, I invite you to check out Life Preservers. And for a limited time, when you purchase the collection, you'll also receive 3 months free of the Pen, Paper, and Heart Legacy newsletter. Now, this newsletter is where I'll be sharing my ongoing work in found poetry, highlighting new pieces and diving deeper into the creative process. You'll also get a sneak peek at my next poetry collection, which officially launches in June. So, starting this week, I'll be sharing one poem from that upcoming collection every week. And so now's the perfect time to jump in. Okay? Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing and being a part of this creative journey. Until next time, stay poetic, and I will see you soon. Peace.